We are learning about the solidarity model. Stephen Pope chooses Oscar Romero as an exemplar of the solidarity model for social action. We start with a definition. Solidarity speaks to the kind of unity born of a shared commitment to a community or to a cause. This vision for social unity differs from the kind of unity St. Augustine describes. He describes social unity as a unity of heart and mind. Solidarity, in contrast, makes space for diversity as people from different backgrounds come together to work for a shared goal. Solidarity depends on the freedom of people and groups to associate for a specific purpose. So it also stands in stark contrast to totalitarian ideologies that collapse civil society into the institutions of the state. In the Hebrew Bible, we see a kind of political solidarity among the tribes of ancient Israel who come together as a people to seek freedom from the Canaanite city-states. The Exodus narrative offers a religious and moral vision for this emerging nation. Its vision for solidarity is more than a practical political necessity because it also includes ethical and religious dimensions. After the Israelites gained control of their own land, the prophets warned the people not to return to conditions similar to what their ancestors knew in Egypt. So prophets taught that people should cancel debts every 50 years and release indebted servants to return to their tribe's land. In addition, they taught people to respect resident aliens because they too had been strangers when they lived in Egypt. The vision for solidarity we find in the Hebrew Bible includes an aspirational ideal. The people should strive to treat each other as God treats them. This approach to solidarity is both political and ethical, pragmatic and religious. Contemporary Jewish practice teaches tikkun olam, the call to heal and repair the world. This names an aspect of personal righteousness, but it also becomes a common cause that Jewish people share as they work to make the world more just through charitable gifts, personal choices, and promoting just social policy. Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, a former leader of Jewish rabbis in the United Kingdom, says, "Many people worry about their own stomachs and the state of other people's souls. The real task is to do the opposite, to worry about other people's stomachs and the state of our own soul." In the New Testament, we find a different kind of solidarity. Kinship groups were important in ancient Roman society. People depended on their kin group for employment, commerce, protection, emergency aid, and even justice. St. Paul teaches Jesus' followers to act like a kin group. They support each other not because of blood or ethnicity, but because of the unity they experience through their shared faith. At the same time, Paul encourages his churches to be welcoming and generous, not turned in on themselves. This was not easy. Paul's churches experienced divisions based on wealth, ethnicity, and different opinions about religious practice. Yet he encourages them to honor each other's gifts, and to support each other as the different parts of a human body depend on each other. In contemporary Catholic practice, solidarity is sometimes called accompaniment. After the Second Vatican Council, when religious men and women or priests were missioned to developing countries, they were encouraged to honor local cultures and local leaders. Instead of placing themselves in charge of local church organizations, they were encouraged to support people from the local church community, so they were better able to succeed. This spirit of support from a person who stands along the side of another is an effort to offer assistance as an equal. Greg Boyle speaks of a kind of solidarity when he promotes universal kinship. He uses the term analogously. He's not calling people to support strangers in exactly the same way they support their relatives, but to feel an ethical call to offer appropriate support as they would for a relative. Though universal kinship is more aspirational or symbolic than literal, The spirit inspired by kinship supports the kind of solidarity that Christian service strives to accomplish. We also see an approach to solidarity in the U.S. Bishops' Catholic Campaign for Human Development. They give monetary grants to local community organizations. Their motto, "Help others help themselves," speaks to their mission. Quite often, these grants go to nonprofit organizations that focus more on community organizing and political empowerment than on providing direct service. Catholic ethicists like Father David Hollenbach describe community organizing as an exemplary practice of solidarity. Though this is not the only way people can serve their communities through solidarity. Stephen Pope recommends that we grow in solidarity first by engaging with communities. We can choose to affiliate with churches and community groups outside our typical circles. After this, he encourages us to build authentic relationships with members of the community we strive to support. When we do this well, these relationships are characterized by reciprocity. Professor Pope also says that solidarity requires profound humility. We need to listen to others because there can be many things about a community's life and culture we do not understand. In addition, we should remember to honor a community's strengths. Too often, when people reach out to help others, they only see the community's struggles. Lastly, Professor Pope reminds us that solidarity requires long-term, regular commitment. Occasional interactions or short-term support can have value, but they are not the basis for solidarity, where people honor each other's strengths and work together for a common cause. At the same time, Pope cautions against romanticizing the communities whom we hope to serve through the solidarity model. Often when people reach out to other communities, they can feel a strong emotional connection to that community. But solidarity depends on a stable relationship built on strong ties of mutual appreciation and reciprocity. Romantic imaginings can get in the way. Solidarity can tempt people to dismiss those who do not share common interests with us. Sometimes groups experience conflicts with people who do not share our interests. When anger at a political rival serves as a prominent basis for solidarity, it can be hard to mesh with Christian practice. Christian teaching on love for enemies can be relevant here. Jesus teaches that we should love our enemies and turn the other cheek. How does this square with a political situation where we ask people to take sides, stand together, and remain strong in the face of opposition? Martin Luther King Jr., who understands Jesus' teachings to be a call to nonviolence, interprets the call to love our enemies as choosing not to harm them. This seems to square with political solidarity. Yet he also speaks of a love that has the potential to transform our opponents and help people to learn to disentangle themselves from evil systems. These are goals we cannot reach through non-maleficence alone. So as we have heard before, each model of social engagement has advantages and challenges, strengths and limitations. Sustaining nonviolence in a social movement calls for strong leadership and discipline among movement participants. Though this is not easily accomplished, we can study instances of nonviolent movements in history to gain practical wisdom we can try to implement in our situations. Because solidarity emerges from common goals, when the goals seem out of reach or the struggle seems impossible to sustain, solidarity can be hard to sustain. All social movements face this challenge. Movement participants often take on significant risks. At a minimum, they often devote a lot of time. Public pursuit of a social movement's goals may seem heroic, but at times when a slim likelihood of success makes the risks seem to outweigh the benefits, non-violent social movements may need to move into abeyance. This means the supporters stay in touch with like-minded people and support each other in a more private way as they wait for a more opportune political moment to pursue their goals. But social movement leaders can also sustain momentum by taking care of the emotional needs of the people involved. Meeting together as a community to celebrate and play helps a great deal.